When I look back now, it's hard to believe that just a few months ago, I could barely put together a proper sentence in English. I would hesitate, mumble, and often stay silent, not because I had nothing to say, but because I was too afraid to sound foolish. I remember sitting in classrooms, listening to people speak fluently, watching movies without subtitles, scrolling through English posts online, and feeling a deep ache inside me. I wanted to understand, to express myself confidently, to connect with the world beyond my language barrier. But each time I tried, my tongue felt heavy, my confidence slipped away, and my mind whispered, "Maybe English just isn't for you." But deep down, I knew that wasn't true. It wasn't that English was impossible, it was that I had never truly committed to it. So one evening, as I sat by my window, watching the sunset fade into the city's golden haze, I made a decision that changed everything. I told myself, "You're going to learn English properly this time. No excuses, no fear." That was the night I promised myself that I would give 5 months of my life completely to this one goal. The first thing I realized was that English is not just a subject, it's a lifestyle. If I wanted to learn it, I had to live it. So I surrounded myself with English from the moment I woke up to the moment I went to bed. My phone, my laptop, my social media, everything was switched to English. I even wrote sticky notes on every object in my room: door, mirror, table, bottle. It looked funny at first, but it worked. Every time I saw those words, my brain made tiny connections, and those connections slowly grew stronger. In the mornings, I listened to English podcasts while getting ready. I didn't understand everything, but I kept listening. I heard the rhythm, the tone, the pauses, the way real people spoke. And then I started mimicking them. I would repeat after the speaker, trying to copy their accent and expression. At first, I sounded silly. But then, one day, I caught myself speaking without thinking too much about grammar, and that was the first time I truly felt progress. In the afternoons, I made a rule: no wasting time scrolling meaninglessly. Instead, I opened ChatGPT, yes, the same AI you're hearing me through right now. It became my learning partner. I asked it questions, wrote short paragraphs, and asked it to correct me. I even practiced conversations, like ordering food, introducing myself, talking about movies, and discussing random topics. The more I spoke, the more natural it felt. ChatGPT didn't judge me, didn't laugh when I made mistakes, and that gave me the freedom to learn fearlessly. Evenings were my reading hours. I started with short stories, children's books, and simple news articles. I used to keep a notebook beside me, one for new words and their meanings. But I didn't just write them, I used them in sentences. That's the secret. When you use a word in context, it becomes yours. Slowly, my vocabulary grew, and with it, my confidence. By the second month, I realized something important. Learning English isn't just about memorizing words or grammar rules. It's about building a relationship with the language. I started thinking in English, describing my surroundings in English, and even dreaming in English sometimes. I'd look at a tree and think, what a peaceful view. I'd walk into a cafe and think, this place feels warm and cozy. It might sound small, but that shift, thinking in English, changed everything. In the 3rd month, I joined online groups where people from around the world spoke English. The first time I spoke, my heart was pounding. I was nervous, my voice shook, and I stammered a bit. But people were kind. They didn't care about my accent or my mistakes. They cared about my effort. And that's when I learned that perfection is not the goal, communication is. Once I understood that, my fear started fading away. By the 4th month, I had made a complete transformation. I started writing short essays, speaking fluently during online sessions, and even helping beginners who were where I once was. I would tell them what I had learned, that consistency is more powerful than talent, that confidence comes from practice, and that mistakes are proof you're growing. But the real turning point came when I started journaling daily, in English. Every night before bed, I'd write a few lines about my day. Today was good. I learned something new. I spoke with confidence. It became a conversation with myself, and those small sentences built not just my language, but my mindset. When the 5th month began, I decided to test myself. I opened my favorite English movie, the same one I once couldn't understand, and watched it without subtitles. This time, I didn't just understand the words. I felt the story. I laughed at the jokes, followed the plot, and realized I had done it. I had learned English. Not perfectly, but enough to express, connect, and understand. That day, I didn't feel like a genius. I felt proud. Because learning English taught me more than grammar and vocabulary, it taught me discipline, patience, and belief in myself. I learned that language is not about how smart you are, but how consistent you can be. It's not about learning fast, it's about not giving up when it feels slow. And if you're listening to this now, wondering if you can do it too, yes, you can. You don't need expensive courses or perfect conditions. You just need commitment. You can start with 30 minutes a day. Listen to a podcast. Watch an English video. Read a paragraph. Talk to ChatGPT. Write a sentence. Repeat it tomorrow. And again the next day. Because one day, without even realizing it, you'll be fluent, and that moment will feel magical. I learned English in 5 months, not because I'm extraordinary, but because I believed I could. Every morning, I reminded myself, if others can do it, so can I. I faced embarrassment, frustration, and self-doubt, but I kept going. And in the end, I didn't just learn a language. I learned that nothing is impossible if you decide to give it your heart, your time, and your faith. So, to anyone listening, if you want to change your life, start with your mindset. Speak even if your voice trembles. Learn even when it feels hard. Because every step you take brings you closer to a version of yourself you'll be proud of. 5 months may sound short, but when you fill each day with purpose, even a single day can make a difference. Your journey might start today, right here, with just one word, hello.